The question of creatine's legal status comes up in sport more often than it should, given how clear the answer is. Creatine is not on the World Anti-Doping Agency's prohibited list. It has never been on it. The International Olympic Committee does not prohibit creatine. The International Paralympic Committee does not prohibit creatine. The NCAA does not prohibit creatine, though it has restrictions on how universities can distribute supplements to student athletes that affect whether creatine can be provided directly by the institution. FIFA, the International Federation of Athletics Associations, the International Weightlifting Federation, and every other major international sport governing body that has examined creatine has concluded there is no basis for prohibition. The reason creatine has never been seriously considered for prohibition is that WADA's criteria require at least two of three conditions. A substance enhances performance, it poses a health risk, or its use is contrary to the spirit of sport. Creatine clearly meets the first, but fails the second and third entirely. Creatine fails the second and third criteria clearly. The health evidence shows no adverse effects in healthy athletes. And creatine is a naturally occurring compound found in food and synthesized by the human body itself. It is not categorically different in kind from food-based performance optimization, which is universally accepted. The performance criterion is the only one where creatine clearly qualifies. But performance enhancement alone, without health risk or ethical violation of the spirit of sport, is not sufficient for prohibition. Caffeine, carbohydrate loading, altitude training, and compression garments all enhance performance and are not prohibited. There is no principled basis for treating creatine differently. The comparison to anabolic steroids, which persists in public discourse, is technically absurd. Anabolic steroids are synthetic hormone analogs that activate androgen receptors, dramatically altering protein synthesis rates, recovery capacity, and secondary sex characteristics. They're associated with a well-documented adverse effect profile including cardiovascular disease, hepatotoxicity, and endocrine disruption. They're banned precisely because they meet all three WADA criteria. Creatine shares none of these properties. It is not a steroid, does not interact with steroid hormone pathways, has no documented adverse effects in healthy individuals, and is a dietary compound consumed by billions of people who eat meat without any awareness that they're consuming it. The legal status of creatine is unambiguous, the evidence behind that status is extensive, and the comparison to prohibited performance-enhancing drugs is not supported by any aspect of the molecule's pharmacology, metabolism, or safety profile. For any athlete at any level of competition, creatine supplementation is legal, safe, and evidence-backed. The only question worth asking is whether the performance benefits apply to your specific sport and training demands. The legal status question has practical implications that go beyond simply knowing whether you can compete. In some elite sport programs, athletes are subject to nutritional guidance from sports dietitians who may be more conservative than the evidence warrants. A sports dietitian who isn't current on creatine research might advise against it based on outdated concerns, kidney stress, hormonal effects, or simply unfamiliarity with the extensive safety literature. For athletes in these environments, understanding the legal and safety landscape allows them to advocate for themselves with evidence rather than accepting guidance that's not well supported. The ISSN, ACSM, and IOC position statements on creatine are publicly available and peer-reviewed. Citing these in a conversation with a conservative sports medicine physician or dietitian provides a more productive foundation. Simply asserting, "I want to take it," is less persuasive than presenting documented evidence. There's also the question of supplement purity and contamination. While creatine itself is legal, supplements can sometimes be contaminated with prohibited substances during manufacturing. Athletes subject to anti-doping testing should use creatine products that carry third-party certification, NSF, for sport, informed sport, or equivalent certification programs that test for prohibited substances. The creatine itself poses no anti-doping risk. The supply chain does, in the same way it does for any supplement. Third-party certified products provide the chain of custody evidence that protects an athlete if a contamination issue ever arises. This is standard practice for professional athletes and worth understanding for any competitive athlete at any level.